Dr. Tae-ho Kim wiped sweat from his brow as he finished checking the tiger's teeth. The large male predator lay sedated on the examination table, breathing steadily. "All done," Tae-ho said to his assistant. "His teeth are healthy. Let's move him back to the recovery area." It was a normal day at the Seoul National Wildlife Conservation Center. Tae-ho had been working with large predators for 15 years, tigers, bears, wolves. He understood them in ways most people could not. He knew their body language. He knew when they were scared, angry, or just curious. Tae-ho helped wheel the tiger into the recovery room when his phone buzzed. It was a message from the center director. "Come to my office immediately, it's urgent." Strange. The director rarely called anyone to his office, especially not in the middle of the day. "Can you finish up here?" Tae-ho asked his assistant, who nodded. 5 minutes later, Tae-ho stood in the director's office, confused by what he saw on the television. News channels around the world were showing the same images. A massive ship hovering over the Pacific Ocean. "Aliens," the director said simply. "They arrived 3 hours ago." Tae-ho stared at the screen. The ship was unlike anything humans had built. It had a rough, almost organic look, with spines and ridges along its dark surface. It reminded him of a deep-sea predator. "They've made contact," the director continued. "They call themselves the Crasher. Governments around the world are trying to organize a response team." "Why are you telling me this?" Tae-ho asked, still watching the screen. The director handed him a folder. "The Crasher requested experts in animal behavior, particularly those who work with predator species. Your name was on a short list the government sent them." Tae-ho opened the folder. Inside was a brief description of what little they knew about the Crasher, along with security clearance documents. "They want to meet you," the director said, "tomorrow." 24 hours later, Tae-ho sat in a makeshift meeting room at a military base near Seoul. With him were 11 other specialists from around the world, veterinarians, biologists, zoologists, and animal behaviorists. A tall military officer entered the room. "The Crasher delegation will arrive in 5 minutes. We don't fully understand their biology or culture yet, but we know they are predatory in nature. Stay calm, follow protocols, and remember your training." Tae-ho had worked with dangerous animals all his life. He knew how to keep his heart rate steady, how to breathe evenly, how to avoid movements that might be seen as threatening. But aliens? This was new territory. The door opened again. Tae-ho's breath caught in his throat. The Crasher were enormous. The first one through the door stood nearly 3 meters tall with broad shoulders and powerful limbs. Its skin was a deep reddish brown with black stripe-like markings. The face was vaguely reptilian, with forward-facing eyes that immediately reminded Tae-ho of Earth's predators. Most striking were the claws, curved and gleaming, extending from each finger. 3 more Crasher followed the first. They moved with the fluid grace of apex predators, their movements economical and precise. The room suddenly felt very small. The lead Crasher wore some kind of translator device on its chest. It spoke, and a mechanical voice translated, "I am Vrek, third hunt leader of the Crasher Unified Packs. We come in peace and seek understanding between our peoples." One of the scientists shifted nervously in her chair. The nearest Crasher's head snapped toward the movement, nostrils flaring. Tae-ho recognized the behavior instantly. It was tracking potential prey. Without thinking, Tae-ho stood up slowly and assumed a posture he often used with large predators. Back straight, shoulders relaxed, hands visible but not raised. Not challenging but not submissive either. The room went silent. The Crasher named Vrek turned its attention to Tae-ho, head tilting slightly. "You do not fear," the translator said. "I respect," Tae-ho replied simply. "I work with Earth's predators, tigers, bears, wolves. I understand the need for clear boundaries." Vrek's mouth opened slightly, revealing rows of sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. "You understand indeed. Most species we encounter react with fear or aggression. Your response is unusual." Over the next hour, the Crasher explained their purpose. They were part of a galactic community that had been observing Earth for some time. Now that humans had developed to a certain technological level, formal contact was approved. We often serve as intermediaries, Freck explained. Many species find our appearance disturbing, but if humans can accept us, it will ease your entry into the wider community. As the meeting continued, Taeho noticed the Crasher watching him specifically. He maintained his calm demeanor, asking practical questions about their biology, social structure, and needs while on Earth. When the meeting ended, Freck approached Taeho directly. "You have experience with predators," Rex said, "but you are not one yourself. Humans are interesting. Physically, you lack natural weapons, yet you have dominated your planet. Your mind is your fang and claw." Taeho nodded. "We evolved as persistence hunters. We may not be fast or strong, but we can track prey for days without rest. Yet you protect the very predators that once hunted your kind," Rex observed. "This contradicts survival logic." "We understand our place in the wider ecosystem now," Taeho explained. "All species have value. Balance is important." Freck made a rumbling sound that the translator didn't catch. The alien's posture shifted, becoming more rigid. It raised its head and exposed its neck slightly. The other humans in the room tensed, but Taeho recognized the display. It was similar to how certain predator species showed non-aggression. Without hesitation, he mirrored the gesture, tilting his head to expose his own neck slightly. The room went silent again. Then Rex let out a sound that might have been a laugh. The first human to correctly interpret a Crasher greeting posture. The translator conveyed, "Your kind continues to surprise us." As the Crasher delegation prepared to leave, Rex turned back to Taeho. "We will meet again soon, Dr. Kim. I believe you will be valuable in building understanding between our peoples." That evening, Taeho sat in his small apartment, trying to process the day's events. His phone hadn't stopped buzzing with messages from colleagues who had heard about the meeting. He ignored them all, instead reviewing the notes he had taken. The Crasher were carnivores with a pack-based social structure. Their society revolved around hunting, territory, and strict hierarchies. Yet they had developed advanced technology and complex diplomatic systems. Most interesting to Taeho was their behavior. Despite their fearsome appearance, he had sensed no malice from them. Their movements, their reactions, their attention patterns, all reminded him of the big cats he worked with. Dangerous if provoked or threatened, but otherwise controlled and deliberate. His phone rang again. This time it was a government number. "Dr. Kim," said a voice he didn't recognize. "The Crasher have specifically requested your presence at tomorrow's meeting. They were impressed by you." Taeho looked out his window at the night sky, wondering how many other species were out there among the stars. How many predators? How many prey? "I'll be there," he said. As he hung up, Taeho couldn't help but smile. After 15 years of working with Earth's most dangerous animals, he was now going to help build a bridge to alien predators. The universe had just become a much larger, much more interesting place. And somehow, being human, neither the strongest nor the fastest species, but perhaps one of the most adaptable, might be the perfect middle ground in this new galactic community. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But for now, Taeho was simply grateful that when face to face with alien predators, he had known exactly what to do. 6 months had passed since first contact. The world had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Crasher ships now orbited Earth, and trading posts had been set up in major cities. People were slowly getting used to seeing the large, predatory aliens walking among them. Dr. Taeho Kim had become busy. Very busy. As one of the main contacts between humans and the Crasher, he spent most of his time in meetings and research sessions. Today he was in his new office at the International Xenological Institute, reviewing data on Crasher biology. There was a knock at his door. "Come in," Taeho called. Dr. Ji Young Park entered, carrying a tablet. She was a xenobiologist who had joined the team 3 months ago. Ji Young was quiet but brilliant, and she had a natural talent for understanding alien physiology. "The Crasher sent a message," she said. "Freck wants to meet with us. Today." Taeho raised his eyebrows. "Did they say why?" Ji Young shook her head. only that it's important and private. This was unusual. Most meetings with the crasher were planned weeks in advance and involved multiple specialists. Where? Tejo asked. Their ship. Tejo tried to hide his surprise. In the 6 months since first contact, no human had been invited aboard the main crasher vessel. 4 hours later, Tejo and Ji Young stood in a transport shuttle, approaching the massive crasher mothership. Through the viewport, Tejo could see that the ship was even more impressive up close. The dark, ridged hull reminded him of a giant shark. Are you nervous? Ji Young asked quietly. A little, Tejo admitted, but mostly curious. The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. When the doors opened, they were met by 2 crasher guards who led them through wide corridors. The ship's interior was dimly lit with a reddish glow that Tejo knew matched the light from the crasher homeworld sun. The guards brought them to a large room with a circular table in the center. Vrek was waiting for them, along with 2 other crasher Tejo hadn't met before. Dr. Kim, Dr. Park, Vrek greeted them. Thank you for coming on such short notice. The 2 humans sat down across from the aliens. Tejo noticed that the chairs had been adjusted to human height. We have asked you here because we need to discuss a matter of great importance, Vrek said. A matter that requires trust. The crasher, to Vrek's right, spoke up. I am Vrek, first breeding overseer of the Unified Pax. What we are about to ask has never been requested of another species. Tejo and Ji Young exchanged glances. Our breeding season approaches, Vrek explained. Under normal circumstances, this would not concern Earth. However, we face a complication. Vrek continued. The crasher reproduction cycle is complex. When our young are born, the adults enter a state we call the blood hunt. Our hormones change, making us extremely aggressive and territorial for several moon cycles. In our natural environment, Vrek added, different packs would take turns caring for the young while others hunted. But our numbers on this mission are limited, and all adults will enter the blood hunt state. Tejo began to understand. You need someone to care for your young during this time. The 3rd crasher nodded. I am Vrek, 2nd breeding overseer. You understand correctly, Dr. Kim. We need caretakers who will not harm our young. Ji Young leaned forward. Why humans? Surely there are other species in the galactic community with more experience caring for alien young. Vrek made a clicking sound that Tejo had come to recognize as thoughtful consideration. There are many species we have encountered, Vrek said, but none with your particular combination of traits. What traits? Tejo asked. Most species fall into simple categories, Vrek explained. Predators or prey. Those like us inspire fear in prey species. That fear would be sensed by our young, harming their development. And other predator species? Ji Young asked. Would see our young as competition or potential threats, Vrek said. But humans, you are different. Vrek stood up and began to pace slowly around the table. Humans are physically weak compared to us. You have no natural weapons. Yet, you think like predators. You plan, you strategize, you hunt in your own way. Most importantly, Vrek added, you care for species that are not your own, even predators that could harm you. Tejo thought about the tigers and wolves he had worked with. We understand the importance of all species in an ecosystem. Exactly, Vrek said. You respect strength without fearing it. You can be firm without being threatening. These qualities make you uniquely suited to care for crasher young. Ji Young looked concerned. What exactly would caring for crasher young involve? How many are we talking about? 15 cubs, Vrek answered. They will be newly hatched and require specific environmental conditions, proper nutrition, and most importantly, guidance on proper behavior. Behavior? Tejo asked. Crasher young must learn discipline, Vrek explained. Without it, their natural predatory instincts would make them dangerous. They must learn boundaries, respect, and control. The room fell silent as Tejo and Ji Young considered the request. Tejo understood what a huge step this was for the crasher. Predator species rarely trusted others with their young. This would be a first in human history, Ji Young said eventually, caring for alien young. And a first for the Krashar, Vrek acknowledged. But we believe it is possible. We have observed Dr. Kim with Earth predators. The principles are similar. How long would we need to care for them? Taeho asked. 3 Earth months, Marek replied. By then the blood hunt will end, and we can safely return to our parental duties. We would provide all necessary equipment and knowledge, Breck added, and a secure facility would be established on Earth. Taeho looked at Ji Young, who gave a small nod. We'll need to consult with our governments, Taeho said, but speaking personally, I'm willing to help organize this. Rek's posture relaxed, slightly. We understand this is a significant request. We can provide more details to help your leaders make their decision. There's another aspect you should know, Marek said, her voice becoming more serious. The Krashar are at war with another species, the Vosari. They have long been our enemies, and they would consider our young valuable targets. You're asking us to protect your young from potential attackers? Ji Young asked. The Vosari have no interest in Earth currently, Rek assured them. But yes, security would be a consideration. Taeho nodded slowly. I understand. This is about trust on both sides. Indeed, Rek said. No Krashar has ever willingly placed their young in the care of another species. But we believe humans are different. You understand predators in a way no other species has demonstrated. As they prepared to leave the ship, Rek walked with them to the shuttle. Dr. Kim, the alien said quietly, many of my kind questioned this decision. They believe entrusting our young to any other species is too great a risk. Why did you disagree? Taeho asked. Rek looked down at him, yellow eyes gleaming in the dim light. Because on that first day, when you mirrored my greeting posture, I saw something rare in the galaxy. A species that neither fears nor wishes to dominate predators. You seek understanding instead. The shuttle doors opened. We await your answer, Vrek said. But know this, regardless of your decision, you have already changed how the Krashar view humans. No small achievement for a species without fangs or claws. As the shuttle departed, Taeho watched the massive ship grow smaller through the viewport. He turned to Ji Young. Caring for alien predator young, he said. Not exactly what I expected when I became a veterinarian. Ji Young smiled. If we say yes, we'll be making history. And potentially changing the future relationship between our species. Taeho nodded. The weight of the request wasn't lost on him. But neither was the opportunity it presented. Let's see what our governments say, he replied. But I think we should do it. 3 weeks had passed since the meeting on the Krashar ship. After much debate, Earth's governments had agreed to the Krashar request. A special facility had been built in a quiet valley 2 hours from Seoul. The location was remote enough to ensure privacy, but close enough to medical facilities if needed. Taeho stood at the entrance of the newly constructed building, watching as workers installed the final security systems. The facility looked like a cross between a research center and a high-end zoo habitat. Are we really ready for this? Asked a voice behind him. Taeho turned to see Hyunwoo Lee, his old friend from university days. Hyunwoo had spent the last 10 years working with endangered tigers in northern Korea. When Taeho needed someone he could trust for the nursery team, Hyunwoo was his first call. As ready as we can be, Taeho replied. The Krashar have sent detailed instructions for everything from room temperature to diet. Hyunwoo looked up at the building. It's not the practical stuff I'm worried about. It's the fact that we're about to care for alien babies, alien predator babies. Before Taeho could respond, a transport vehicle appeared on the road leading to the facility. It was large and black, with the now familiar Krashar symbol on its side. They're here, Taeho said simply. The human team gathered at the entrance, 12 specialists including Taeho, Ji Young, and Hyunwoo. They had trained together intensively for the past 2 weeks, learning everything they could about Krashar physiology and behavior. The vehicle stopped, and 4 adult Krashar stepped out. Frek was among them, looking even more impressive in the natural sunlight than he had in meeting rooms. Behind them came a large container, carefully moved by robotic carriers. "Dr. Kim," Vrek greeted Taeho. "The time has come." Taeho bowed slightly. "We're ready, Hunt Leader." "Are you?" Vrek asked, his yellow eyes studying each human face. "Caring for our young is no small task. They will test your patience, your courage, and your wisdom." "We understand," Ji Young said. "We've prepared as thoroughly as possible." Vrek nodded and gestured to the container. 15 cubs, recently hatched. They are precious to us. The way Rex said the word precious made Taeho understand just how difficult this was for the Crasher. They were literally handing over their children to another species. "I give you my word," Taeho said formally. "We will care for them as if they were our own." Vrek made a clicking sound. "That is precisely why we chose humans. Now, let us proceed with the transfer." The container was brought inside the facility to a large central room designed to mimic a Crasher nest. The temperature was higher than humans found comfortable, and the lighting had a red tint. The floor was covered with a special material that felt like packed soil, but was actually a high-tech compound that would be easy to clean. When the container opened, Taeho got his first look at the Crasher young. They were smaller than he had expected, about the size of human toddlers. Their skin was lighter than the adults, more orange than red, and their claws and teeth were not yet fully developed. But their eyes were the same, bright yellow with vertical pupils that widened as they took in their new surroundings. One of the cubs stepped forward cautiously, sniffing the air. It looked directly at Taeho and made a small chirping sound. "That is Trell," Vrek said. "He is the most curious of the clutch." The cub named Trell took another step toward Taeho, head tilted in obvious curiosity. "What should I do?" Taeho asked quietly. "Remain still," Vrek instructed. "Let him approach if he wishes." The other cubs began to emerge from the container, some staying close together, others exploring the room cautiously. The human team watched in amazement. Despite all their preparation, seeing actual alien young was overwhelming. Trell moved closer to Taeho and sniffed his legs. Then, to everyone's surprise, the cub reached up with a small clawed hand. "He wants you to pick him up," Rex said, sounding equally surprised. "This is, unexpected." Carefully, Taeho bent down and lifted the cub. Trell was heavier than a human child of similar size, but not uncomfortably so. The cub chirped again and placed a hand on Taeho's face, examining him with intense curiosity. "He likes you," said one of the other Crasher adults, who Taeho recognized as Mrek, the breeding overseer. "Is that good?" Taeho asked, holding the cub carefully. "It is promising," Mrek replied. "Cubs must respect their caretakers, but affection makes the teaching easier." For the next hour, the adult Crasher showed the human team how to handle the cubs, how to feed them, and most importantly, how to establish boundaries. Crasher young needed firm guidance to control their natural predatory instincts. "If they become too rough," Vrek explained, demonstrating with one of the more energetic cubs, "you must make this sound and take this posture." The alien made a sharp, clicking noise and straightened to full height, looking down at the cub with unwavering eyes. The young Crasher immediately stopped its rough play and lowered its head slightly. "It's like establishing dominance with Earth predators," Hyunwoo observed. "Clear signals, consistent rules." "Precisely," Rex said, seeming pleased with the understanding. By late afternoon, the adult Crasher were preparing to leave. Taeho could see they were struggling with the decision, their bodies tense and their movements jerky. "The blood hunt approaches," Rex explained, his voice rougher than usual. "Already our hormones change. We must leave soon for the cubs' safety." Mrek approached Ji Young, who was feeding one of the smaller cubs. "This one, Krell, needs extra nutrition." She was the last to hatch. Ji Young nodded. "I'll make sure she gets special attention." The farewell was brief and formal. The adult Crasher would return to their ship and then to their territory in the outer solar system, where they would remain until the blood hunt ended. As they left, Rek paused at the door. "Remember, they learn by watching. Show them strength. but also restraint. Show them that control is more important than power. Then they were gone, leaving the human team alone with 15 Crasher cubs. Well, Hyunwoo said into the silence. Now comes the hard part. The first night was challenging. The cubs were restless in their new environment, making sleep impossible for the human caretakers who worked in shifts. Taeho found that the cubs responded best to calm, consistent handling. Any sign of fear or uncertainty from the humans seemed to make the young Crasher more agitated. By morning, they had established a routine of sorts. Each cub had been assigned primary caretakers, with Taeho taking responsibility for Trell and 2 others. "They're smart," Ji-young observed as they watched the cubs eat their morning meal, a specially prepared protein mix. "Much smarter than I expected for their age." "They're predators," Hyunwoo said. "On Earth, predator species usually develop cognitive skills earlier than prey animals. They need to learn hunting strategies." 1 week into their new duties, the Amidaka team had their first crisis. Krell, the smallest cub, developed a high fever and refused to eat. Ji-young and Taeho worked through the night, consulting the medical database the Crasher had provided. "Her immune system is still developing," Ji-young said, checking the cub's vital signs. "We need to lower her temperature. Using a modified cooling blanket and a carefully calculated dose of medicine, they managed to bring Krell's fever down. By morning, she was eating again, much to everyone's relief. If we'd lost a cub in the first week..." Taeho didn't finish the sentence. "But we didn't," Hyunwoo reminded him. "We're learning, and so are they." As the days passed, the human team and the Crasher cubs settled into a rhythm. The young aliens were growing rapidly, already showing more coordination and understanding. They learned to respond to human voices and signals, and the humans learned to interpret the cubs' various sounds and body language. Most surprisingly, the cubs began to show protective behaviors toward their human caretakers. When a maintenance worker came to fix a heating unit, the cubs formed a circle around Ji-young until they determined the newcomer wasn't a threat. "They see us as part of their pack," Hyunwoo said with wonder. "Not just caretakers, but family." Taeho watched as Trell played a complex game with 2 other cubs, their movements already showing the precision that adult Crasher possessed. "If this works," he said quietly, "we might be changing the future of human-alien relations." What none of them knew was that far away, on the edge of the solar system, another ship was approaching, a Vasari scout vessel, and they had just detected the unusual energy signature of the nursery facility. 2 months had passed since the Crasher cubs arrived at the nursery. The cubs had grown significantly, now reaching the height of an average human child. Their claws and teeth had developed further, making them look more like the adults, though their skin still retained its orange hue. Taeho sat in the observation room, watching as Hyunwoo led the cubs through what they called hunting practice, exercises designed to teach control and precision. The cubs were learning to use their natural abilities without causing harm. "They're getting better," Ji-young said as she entered the room carrying data tablets, "especially Trell." Taeho nodded. Trell had emerged as the leader of the group, often being the first to master new skills and then helping the others learn. The cub had formed a particularly strong bond with Taeho, following him everywhere when allowed. "Any word from Earth Command?" Taeho asked. Earth Command was the new international body created to handle alien relations. Ji-young's expression grew serious. "Yes. They've received a transmission from a new alien ship entering the solar system. They claim to be diplomats from the Vasari Collective." Taeho felt a chill run through him. The Vasari, the enemies of the Crasher, the ones Rek had warned them about. "What do they want?" he asked. "Officially?" "To establish relations with Earth just like the Crasher did." Ji-young set down her tablets. But the timing seemed convenient. Before they could discuss further, an alert sounded from one of the security monitors. A vehicle was approaching the facility, one that wasn't on the approved list. "Who is that?" Taeho asked, zooming in on the image. "Government car," Ji-young said, checking the system. "But it wasn't scheduled." Taeho stood up. "Call Hyunwoo." Get the cubs to the safe area. 20 minutes later, Taeho stood in the facility's meeting room facing 3 officials, 2 human and 1 alien. The alien was tall and slender with pale blue skin and 4 arms. This was Taeho's first time seeing a Vosari in person. Dr. Kim, the senior human official, said, "This is Ambassador Zeal of the Vosari Collective. He has requested to tour our facility." Taeho kept his face neutral. "I wasn't informed of any planned visits," the Vosari spoke, its voice high and melodic. "Forgiveness I ask for the sudden arrival. My government only recently learned of this interesting project." There was something in the way the alien said interesting that made Taeho uncomfortable. "This is a secure research facility," Taeho said firmly. "We don't allow unscheduled visitors. The cubs are on a strict routine." The second human official, a woman in a military uniform, stepped forward. "Dr. Kim, Ambassador Zeal has diplomatic clearance. The government has authorized this visit as a gesture of goodwill." Taeho understood the message. This wasn't a request, it was an order. "I'll need to prepare the cubs," he said. "They can be territorial with strangers." The Vosari ambassador tilted its head. "Fascinating. The young ones already show such traits. They develop quickly." The comment confirmed Taeho's suspicion. The Vosari knew exactly what was in this facility. While the officials waited, Taeho went to the nursery area where Hyunwoo had gathered the cubs. "What's happening?" Hyunwoo asked quietly. "Vosari," Taeho replied, keeping his voice low. "They've sent an ambassador who wants to see the cubs." Hyunwoo's eyes widened. "Is that safe?" "I don't think we have a choice." Taeho looked at the cubs who were watching them curiously. "But be alert, and keep Trell close to you. He's the most protective." When they returned to the meeting room, Taeho laid out the rules. "You can observe from the viewing area only. No direct contact with the cubs. They're still learning appropriate responses to strangers." The Vosari agreed, though Taeho noticed a slight twitch in its 4 hands. Was that annoyance, or something else? The tour was brief and tense. Through the viewing window, the ambassador watched the cubs with an intensity that made Taeho uncomfortable. The cubs in turn reacted strongly to the Vosari's presence. They grew restless, making warning sounds that the team had never heard before. "They seem agitated by your presence," Ji-young observed. The Vosari made a sound that might have been a laugh. Young predators often sense threats accurately, even when adults lose such instincts. After the visitors left, Taeho called an emergency meeting with his team. "That was no diplomatic visit," he said. "The Vosari were assessing the facility. And the cubs?" "Why would Earth's governments allow this?" one of the team members asked. Ji-young sighed. "Because they don't understand what's at stake. To them, the Crasher and Vosari are just 2 alien species with a dispute. They don't want to take sides." "But we're literally caring for Crasher children," Hyunwoo pointed out. "We've already taken a side." Later that night, as Taeho was checking on the cubs before bed, he noticed Trell behaving strangely. The young Crasher was moving his hands in patterns, almost like he was trying to draw something in the air. "What is it, Trell?" Taeho asked. The cub looked at him with those intelligent yellow eyes, then moved to the learning pad they used for communication training. Using his claws, Trell drew a simple picture. A circle with lines coming out of it like a basic sun or star. "I don't understand," Taeho said. Trell added more lines, connecting several circle shapes. Then he pointed upward and made a low rumbling sound, the noise the cubs used when they sensed danger. A chill ran through Taeho. "Are you trying to tell me something about space? About ships?" The cub nodded vigorously, a human gesture they had taught the cubs for yes. Taeho quickly called Ji-young and Hyunwoo. Together they watched as Trell continued to draw. The other cubs gathered around, some adding their own marks to the drawing. "It's like they're trying to warn us," Ji-young said. "But how would they know anything about Vosari ships?" Hyunwoo had been quiet, watching the cubs closely. "Remember what Rek told us about Crashar biology? They have some form of genetic memory. The basics of their history and instincts are passed down." "You think they inherited knowledge about the Vosari?" Taeho asked. Maybe not specific knowledge, Hyunwoo suggested, but instinctive warnings like how Earth animals know to fear certain predators even if they've never seen one before. That night, while most of the team slept, the facility's security alarms went off. Taeho rushed to the control room to find Ji-young already there, reviewing camera footage. Small craft, she said, pointing to the screen. It landed in the forest about a mile away. Too small for a shuttle, more like a scout drone, Taeho finished. They're testing our defenses. By morning, Earth Command had verified what the facility's sensors detected. A small Vasari craft had entered Earth's atmosphere without permission, landed briefly near the nursery, then left. This is just the beginning, Taeho told his team. The Vasari know what we have here, and they want the cubs. Why? Asked one of the newer team members. Why risk a diplomatic incident just for some alien children? Because they're not just any children, Ji-young explained. They're the future of the Crusher. Taking them would cripple their enemies for generations. Can we contact the adult Crusher? Hyunwoo asked. Tell them what's happening. Taeho shook his head. They're deep in their blood hunt. The communication blackout is complete until it ends. Then we're on our own, Ji-young said quietly. Later, that day, an official message arrived from Earth Command. The Vasari delegation had made a formal request. In the interest of galactic peace, they asked that the Crusher cubs be transferred to a neutral facility, where both Vasari and Crusher representatives could oversee their care. This is a trap, Hyunwoo said after reading the message. Once they have the cubs off Earth, he didn't need to finish. Everyone understood what would happen. As night fell, Taeho sat with Trell in the quiet of the nursery. The cub seemed to sense his worry, pressing close against him in a gesture that seemed almost protective. We promise to keep you safe, Taeho said softly. And we will. Outside the facility, hidden cameras captured movement in the darkness. Small, drone-like objects circled the perimeter, scanning for weaknesses. The Vasari weren't waiting for Earth's diplomatic answer. They were preparing to take what they wanted. The nursery facility was on high alert. 3 days had passed since the Vasari scout craft was detected, and tension filled the air. Earth Command had rejected the Vasari request to transfer the cubs, but everyone knew this wouldn't be the end of it. Taeho stood at the command center with Ji-young and Hyunwoo, looking at security feeds from around the perimeter. More drones last night, Ji-young reported. They're mapping our defenses. Why don't they just attack? Hyunwoo asked. They clearly have the technology to overpower us. Politics, Taeho said. They want to take the cubs without starting. A war with Earth. They're looking for a clean way in. The facility's communication system beeped with an incoming message. A military officer appeared on the screen. Dr. Kim, we have news. A Vasari ship has entered orbit, much larger than the first one, and... The officer hesitated. We've detected energy signatures from several more ships entering the solar system. Taeho felt his stomach tighten. More Vasari? No, the officer replied. These are different. We're still analyzing the signals, but they don't match Vasari or Crusher patterns. After the call ended, Taeho went to check on the cubs. They had been restless for days, as if they sensed the danger. Trell especially seemed agitated, pacing and making low rumbling sounds. I know, Taeho said softly to the cub. I'm worried, too. Suddenly, the facility's alarms blared. Ji-young's voice came over the speaker. Security breach at the east entrance. Everyone to emergency positions. Taeho quickly led the cubs to the safe room they had prepared, a reinforced inner chamber, with its own air and power systems. Hyunwoo was already there, setting up defensive positions. How many? Taeho asked as he sealed the door. Small team, Hyunwoo replied. 5 or 6. They disabled the outer cameras, but we got a glimpse before they went dark. Through the security monitors, they watched as shadowy figures moved through the facility's corridors. The intruders were Vasari, wearing some kind of stealth armor that partially hid them from sensors. They're heading this way, Ji-young said through the communication system. They know where the cubs are. The cubs huddled together, watching, the monitors with surprising focus. Trell moved to stand beside Taeho, making a sound that seemed almost protective. "It's my job to protect you, not the other way around," Taeho told the cub. The security door shuddered as something hit it from outside. "They're trying to cut through," Hyunwoo said, checking his stun weapon. Earth Command had provided the team with non-lethal defense tools, but against advanced alien technology, Taeho wasn't sure how effective they would be. As the door began to glow red from the cutting tool outside, the cubs did something unexpected. They formed a circle around the three humans facing outward with their claws extended and teeth bared. "They're protecting us," Ji-young said in amazement. "No," Hyunwoo corrected. "They're protecting their pack. We're part of it now." The door was almost breached when suddenly the facility shook with a massive impact. The cutting stopped. On the security monitors, they saw the Vasari intruders looking up in alarm. Then the aliens turned and ran back the way they had come. "What was that?" Taeho asked. The communication system crackled. "Dr. Kim," came a military voice. "You're not going to believe this. There are crasher ships in orbit. They've engaged the Vasari vessel." "The adults have returned?" Ji-young asked, hopeful. "No," the voice replied. "These are different ships, and they're not alone. There are vessels from at least 3 other alien species we've never seen before." The facility shook again as something large landed outside. The security monitors showed a massive ship in the clearing, a crashar design, but unlike any they had seen before. The communication system beeped again. This time the screen showed a crasher face, but not one they recognized. "I am Hunt Leader Nrek of the Crasher Home Guard," the alien said. "We have come for the cubs." Taeho stepped forward. "The adult crasher left the cubs in our care until their blood hunt ends. We were told not to release them to anyone." The hunt leader nodded. "A wise precaution. But circumstances have changed. The Vasari fleet approaches. We must evacuate the young ones." "How do we know you're really Crasher Home Guard?" Hyunwoo asked. "This could be a trick." "A fair question," Nrek replied. Then he made a series of clicking sounds and gestures that Taeho recognized from Rek's teachings. Trell suddenly moved forward, staring at the screen. He made answering clicks and gestures, his body language expressing recognition. "The cubs know their own kind," Nrek said. "Please, time is short." After confirming the situation with Earth Command, Taeho's team prepared to transfer the cubs. As they led the young crasher outside, they were met by a group of adult crasher warriors and, surprisingly, representatives from several other alien species. "Dr. Kim," said an alien with feathered skin and bright eyes. "I am Lan of the Terrace Confederation. We have come to assist." "Why?" Taeho asked, confused. "Why would other species help protect crasher young? Word has spread throughout the nearby systems," Lan explained. "Humans caring for the young of apex predators. It is unprecedented. Many believed it impossible." Another alien stepped forward, this one short and stocky with multiple eyes. "The crasher have long been isolated, feared by most. But your actions have shown a different path is possible." As they loaded the cubs onto the crashar ship, a massive shadow fell over the valley. Looking up, Taeho saw a Vasari battleship, far larger than the previous vessel. "They're here," Nrek growled. "We must hurry." The sky lit up with energy weapons as ships from both sides engaged in battle. The crasher vessel's shields glowed as they deflected attacks, just as the last cub was being loaded. A Vasari landing craft broke through the defenses and touched down nearby. Armed Vasari soldiers poured out, heading straight for the cubs. Taeho, Ji-young, and Hyunwoo stood with the crasher warriors, forming a line between the attackers and the cubs. It was a desperate stand, humans with stun weapons alongside alien predators against advanced Vasari technology. But before the Vasari could reach them, something remarkable happened. The cubs, led by Trell, broke formation and charged forward, not to attack but to form a protective circle around the humans. Their bodies were small compared to the adults, but their posture was unmistakable. They were defending their pack. The Vasari hesitated, clearly surprised by the cubs' behavior. In that moment of confusion, the adult crasher struck, driving back the attackers. As the battle raged around them, something even more unexpected happened. A new fleet of ships appeared in the sky, crasher vessels. But these were different. And when the communication system activated, Tai-Ho saw a familiar face. "Freck," he said in surprise. "The blood hunt has ended early," Freck explained, his voice rough but clear. "We felt the danger to our young across the stars. With the return of the original Crashar force, the Vossari quickly retreated. Their main battleship pulled back, disappearing into the upper atmosphere. As the dust settled, Tai-Ho watched the reunion between the adult Crasher and their cubs. Trell ran to Rek, making excited clicking sounds as if trying to tell everything that had happened. "He has grown strong," Rek observed. "You have taught them well." "They taught us too," Tai-Ho replied. Later, as the various alien representatives gathered for a formal meeting, Rek approached the human team. "What happened here has changed things," the Crasher leader said. "For centuries, the Crasher have stood alone. Few understood us. Few tried. We just did what was right," Ji-Young said simply. "And that is why you are different," Rek replied. "Humans see beyond appearances, beyond natural roles of predator and prey. You seek understanding." The alien representatives explained that news of humans caring for Crashar young had spread throughout nearby star systems. Species that had long avoided the Crasher now saw potential for new relationships, thanks to the human example. As the day ended, Tai-Ho stood with Trell one last time. The cub had grown so much in just a few months, both physically and in other ways. "I'll miss you," Tai-Ho said, knowing the cub understood the emotion if not the exact words. Trell placed a clawed hand on Tai-Ho's chest, then on his own. A gesture the cubs had developed to mean connection, family. "Yes," Tai-Ho agreed. "Family doesn't end with distance." As the Crasher ships prepared to depart, Freck made a formal announcement. Earth would now be known throughout the galaxy as a world of bridge builders, creatures who could unite predator and prey, and humans would be welcomed as caretakers for the young of many species, a role no other civilization had ever filled. "You have no fangs or claws," Rex said to the assembled humans. "But you have something rarer, the ability to see beyond fear, to nurture strength without tempering it, to guide without controlling. This is why even alien predators trust humans with their young." Tai-Ho watched as the ships rose into the evening sky, carrying the cubs to their homeworld. But he knew this wasn't an ending. It was just the beginning of humanity's new role in the galaxy.